parking at the campus, right? If you're going to drive, you're going to be driving if you go to a 2-year. But if you go to a 4-year, you might not have your car your freshman year. Think about that.
Kayla Alexis Woodard.
Good. You know, I gotta hit y'all with this salute. What's good, man? If y'all coming back to watch another one, salute, man, because y'all trying to be great. So before we get started, y'all wonder why I be carrying around fake money. It's for inspiration. It's for us to go and chase all those blue hundreds, you know? But today on the channel, we are about to talk about mandatory fees. Mandatory fees. What is a mandatory fee? So if you don't know what a mandatory fee is, you about to learn today. Mandatory fees are what are charged by an institution regardless of any student major. So an example, if your major is nursing and somebody else's business, you both will be charged the same institution fees. So if the institution charges $1,000 for mandatory fees, both of you are paying $1,000 for those mandatory fees. It doesn't matter what major you are, you regardless to pay this amount on top of your tuition, right? So the one thing I like to mention about mandatory fees, to be short and concise, mandatory fees are charged along with your tuition, meal plans, and housing. If you plan on having meal plans and housing, you need to factor in mandatory fees. You got to factor in mandatory fees. You cannot be like, oh, mandatory fees, that doesn't apply to me. You got to factor that in. The only way mandatory fees don't affect you is if you're an online student. But even online students, speaking from experience, because I was one, you have to pay mandatory fees anyway. Now, you might not have to pay all of them, but you still have to pay them. Okay, so another thing about mandatory fees that you might not know, you're like, what is it though, Henry? What is it? So it is like your parking at the campus, right? If you're going to drive, you're going to be driving if you go to a 2-year. But if you go to a 4-year, you might not have your car your freshman year. Think about that. So parking, that's a mandatory fee. Technology, that's a mandatory fee, like computers, printers, and stuff like that. Gym access, that's a mandatory fee. You starting to see what I'm saying? So it adds it all up to make it like $1,000, or depending on that school. Every school has a different mandatory fee. That's the beauty of it. I'll be honest, most 2-years mandatory fees are not that much. But I have seen some crazy prices at the universities, and I'm just saying, it's very lopsided. It's very lopsided. So those are what mandatory fees are exactly. Now let's go to our example right here. So you can go and play the game and have fun and be like, I just got some knowledge in within like 5 or 6 minutes. So our example here is so simple. So 3, 6, 9, 12, if you've been following us, you know that means 12 credit hour schedule. And then you know our tuition is $1,500. Well, here you then put the tuition per credit hour up there. I got you a quick tip. If you divide 1,500 by 12, 3, 6, 9, 12, that will give you your tuition per credit hour. So I want you to go to a random school and try that. And it should give you the tuition per credit hour. It's crazy, right? Basic math, right? They didn't teach us that. They didn't teach me that. They didn't teach me that. I'm gonna be honest. They didn't teach me that. And so your tuition is $1,500. But you got to remember, you got to add your mandatory fees, because if you don't add your mandatory fees, you're going to be upset when it's time to pay for school. So your mandatory fees are $1,000. So since that's $1,000, that's going to give you $2,500. It's that simple. $2,500. So you know in advance, and you know how to budget properly, that, oh, my tuition, my real tuition with mandatory fees is going to be $2,500. So I need to save this much, like we've been talking about, right? And it's that simple. That's what mandatory fees are. But you cannot avoid mandatory fees. If you do, you're probably not going to be in the class long. They're going to drop you or put a hold on your account. And some schools will put a hold on your account and not even tell you. So be sure to check with the registrar or the business office if you got any holds on your account, okay? I hope this video helps you a lot. I hope it does you well, swell, and stay safe, okay? Peace. It's only right if I